Going to check am I in shot soon? And we've got the best side.
Yeah. Well.
So just while we've got a bit of quiet before we get started, some housekeeping for the building. We're not expecting any fire drills or anything today, so if anything does happen, run. I'm kidding. If you'd like to make your way out of the building in a calm and orderly fashion through the store, the assembly point is directly over the road from the entrance. There'll be somebody around that high vis vest on. Bathrooms, they are just by reception. You walk past them as you came in. Beyond that, I think that's about it. Yeah, just don't all cram out of the door at the same time. I'm incredibly nervous about this many people in such a small room. But other than that, thank you.
Lunch is going to be served immediately after the meeting. If you'd like to bring it back into the room with you, it status impact on the gaffer.
We'll make space in the room at that point as well.
Yeah. You'll come back in and find me taking all the chairs.
Okay, so
Okay, should we crack on?
yeah, on to you.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the AGM of Latch, and also welcome to our online participants. Hope you can hear us and see what's going on. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is: do we have any apologies?
We have a few listed there, except the one on the end is actually appeared.
All right. So we have Nick Crocker, Jill Eastbrook, John Taylor, Ryan Jeffers. Question mark.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Ryan would be coming. Ryan's off at the moment, but
And then Mark Gould.
Mark's here actually. So
So we don't have any of this.
is he covered from COVID?
Oh, well done. Okay, so next one, minutes of the previous AGM. Has anyone got any issues with the minutes in terms of their correctness? Agree them as a correct record, but there are some corrections, I believe.
Yeah, actually I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure what they mean, so
yeah, I'll be better.
have to lead me through it.
Someone brought to my attention there were 2 errors in the minutes of the last meeting. Luckily, it was a minute error, and one was on item 7. The numbers are incorrect. The income numbers, the wrong number, and therefore the subsequent calculations are all out slightly. So the correct numbers are put in front of the meeting, and the correct numbers were in the annual report. So it's no significance particularly, and thankfully someone spotted it. So I will pass the information to the minute to correct that particular mistake. So minute will be true. And then the other one, slightly more embarrassing one, was that when we reappointed the auditor for 21-22, we said we were reappointing him for 2021, which would need a time machine to go back to that. So we will correct that as well in the reissue, and I shall share them in the notes with you to do that.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, because I wasn't sure about this.
We need to perform the section.
Right, well, yes, we need to propose and not second the minutes. That's fine. So we have a proposer. Thank you, Kat. And a seconder. Thank you. So that's Kat and Sue. Okay. Right, so just to check if there are any matters arising from the minutes, if people have had a chance to look at them, are there any issues anybody wants to raise in relation to the minutes? Well, you've got your hand up that one, right?
I did. I was waiting to James.
I don't think that's a matter arising, apart from your hand. Right, smashing, let's move on then. Membership information is the next item on the agenda. The first thing is to be sure that we are actually calling at the meeting. I think we are today.
It's a bit of membership information might be worth sharing on numbers. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Just so everyone understands how this works, we have to have a quorum meeting for the meeting to be a valid meeting, a valid AGM. The quorum is based on a percentage of the membership, usually 5%. The other charity that I'm involved in has the same rule, 5% core rate. So we need to have at least 20 members present for that, and we have.
Yeah, we've got, just to be absolutely clear, we've got 25 in the room, or yeah, 25 members in the room, 26 people, and then online we've got, I believe, is it
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people online.
5 people online,
Excellent.
which I think 2 or 3
That's
members.
very good. So that's 31 altogether. Just to let everybody know, we currently have 266 members, which is quite something. And the 266 comprise 129 core members, and that comprises 96 tenants, 22 staff, and 11 management committee members. And we also have 137 supporter members who are our investors, who've invested in our share issue, and I particularly extend a warm welcome to anyone who's a supporter member here today, because their support has made a massive difference to the work of Latch over the last year or so. Okay, anything else on membership? Right. So the next item is the annual report presentation, and thankfully I'm going to hand you over to James.
Yeah. If I stand up, will I go out of shot? Well, I'm standing up.
We can see you. Or sitting.
Tell me best behaviour then. Yeah. Hello, Carol. Okay, so can we add the so I'm briefly going to talk through the annual report. The thing to note about the annual report is it's an online document that's going to be available a little bit later today, and as members everyone will be emailed later today, linked to the email on the annual report on the website. So what I've done is I've selected a few extracts from the annual report to talk through, to add a bit of flesh to it. So I haven't picked out all the best bits, picked out some good bits. So but it really will be very advisable and an enjoyable experience, I can guarantee, for you to go look at the full thing. It's got this fairly cool interactive element to it. There's a video embedded in it, which I am going to show today. So yeah, please follow it up. So this is the opening slide. And my picture's going to come.
Hold on. We have a technical problem already.
What is it?
Everyone
Should we have a sing along or something?
No, please. Not in this room.
We tried the PDF. I know the PDF
Yeah,
one won't go full screen, but I spent hours on this yesterday, and then it's like this big moment. Actually, some taff or something.
Can you put the door open a little bit? Is it hot?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's the one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's perfect. So the theme of the annual report is the 100 homes. As you remember, we had a large celebration partway through the year around the 100 homes, and I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. They are 100 homes on the cover. Counted them. So if anyone does want to check, I won't give you the opportunity now, but because it is an authentic expression. But they're not our 100 homes, as you probably can tell. They're designer 100 homes. So yeah. So can you move on for us, Sue, please? So yeah. I was going to suggest we cheer when we see someone we recognise, but we'll recognise everybody all the way through. So this is as you all know, the summary around the support service, and as you'll know, Latch provides support to all its tenants, and the support team are all here today. And based on their work, we managed to let Latch's properties support people to have successful tenancies and move on as time requires. And as we'll see in the outcomes later on, effectively over the year, Latch staff, it's like 217 people, which includes the tenants themselves and their family members and children and such, and people moving in and out. And that forms a significant and foundational part of Latch's work, which holds everything together. So I think we should just take a moment to do the audience participants and say thank you to our support team by clapping our hands. Quite a bit of that. Said this slide gets a black and white, so save some of your energy. Yeah. So moving on to. So the next item was the under form. So you can see there's Faye, me. I don't know about that picture waving the ribbon. My friend said I look incredibly camp, but I don't know what he means by that. But we've met the Lord Mayor, his name. Yeah, Councillor Fleek is in the room.
That's what they say.
And then it's Councillor Stone.
Yeah, yeah. So we have this lovely event, lots of press, got lots of media, lots of profile on it, and I'm wondering where the picture of Michelle's cake is. I think it might be in the report, another part. So,
It's the last time you do that, Michelle.
yeah. So obviously in 100 homes is quite an achievement, and like I think it's now 106, so time moves on, so we're just busy all the time with it. And you know, someone now lives in that home, and you know, the journey Latch has been on. I think when I joined, we had 14 or 15 properties. So you know, it's good to see that happening, and it's having a real impact on everybody who gets living in. Next slide, please. So this is a case study of one of our tenants who's given some feedback. So I just had a little look at that. It's obviously a lovely picture and a really nice thing that they've said about Latch.
And Natasha.
Is Natasha mentioned in that one? Yeah. Is that Natasha? Yeah. You all appear in it somehow, somewhere. So yeah, it's really nice to get that type of feedback. And you know, not every tenancy is as joyful and successful as that one. There's more challenges along the way, but it's really nice to hear and get that feedback, which is really positive. And then this next one is a good one. Now, when I read that quote, I put this together and I didn't read the quote until yesterday. And then when I read the quote, I was quite emotional when I read that. Oh, that's really, really nice. And Asmira is a former Latch tenant. She was with us from 2009 to 2013, so she's in a way long gone. But the sentiment she expresses is about longevity of the impact of our work and the feel back for it. And I was thinking if I could like weave the word heaven into the Latch, changing lives, creating heaven, or you know, some sort of. I haven't quite worked that through yet. I'll think about it, but it was really, really moving quote to me. Yeah. So that's kind of impact the sports service selling. So next slide, Steve. So this is about the refurb team. It just shows the befores and afters the work that they've done. In the year we create 7 new homes, and this is just one of them, and you can see the difference between what we do. It shows that a lot, and you get the quote from somebody who's from 2 people there about the quality and the impact that we've had on them. So that's really good. Next one, Sue. Yeah, so this is a trainee that Dan would have worked with. And on this current batch of properties, we've worked with about 6 to 8 trainees over the period, of which this is a young man's feedback. And yeah, so that's a key part of what we do, we support properties and we work with the trainees. So I thought there's a picture of you come up then, Ben. I don't know what happened to that.
You weren't very possible.
Did I miss you out in the earlier one?
You didn't recognise me because of the haircut.
Yeah. So what I should tell the training volunteer is we, off the back of that, we employed one of the training volunteers, Ben, became an employee. So he went through the training program and he now works for the property services team. So as well as giving a lot of people experience, we also managed to create some employment where we can, and that helps feed the capacity to do more work and keep going. So that was that one. Yeah. So the community share issues. So
No, thank you. Somebody's obviously dropped out and come back in.
okay. Yeah. So as you know, we successfully managed to raise £50,000 previous year, which has been used to begin a new property development project. So with that money, that started to be spent now. There was a slight delay due to trying to secure grant funding of Leeds City Council, which took longer than we were expected. But now all that money has been raised and in position, and we've currently got 2 properties with that funding. One started work on, one's about to start, and then I think there's 1 or 2 in conveyancing, 7 others about to be viewed. So that share issue is like money's being used now. The considerations in the future is about as that share money began to accrue interest for the investors from April 2022, and will be a decision in the coming months about paying interest back to the investors or giving the option of having the interest paid back. And that process will commence in December, when the board will review current audited accounts, the management accounts, future projections, and enter discussions and communicate all of that to the investors as to our plans. And we are thinking possibly when this phase of development ends, which is probably in the summer next year, about perhaps doing another share issue to develop beyond that. But that will come out of discussions in the coming weeks. So yeah, so it's really just saying thank you there to the investors and telling them that we start to spend their money and it's doing well. So yeah, then we have the coach house, which is something Mark primarily looks after. You can see there's some numbers there about all the people who participated in some pictures and stuff. And the coach house is our attempt to add a bit more value to our support, to have more impact both for the community and small community groups, but also for our staff and tenants. And within the annual report, there's a short video by Mags, who you know, the former staff member who provides, I nearly said physiotherapy, psychotherapy services to some private clients, but also use it for free to Latch tenants. So that's having a real impact, and there's a real business. It's a real nice thing to be able to do. It's kind of giving back to lots of other people and things like that. So next one. Obviously the cost of living crisis is a serious concern to all of us and our tenants particularly, and that's getting worse and worse. So, you know, we don't have tons of bullion to address this issue. It obviously needs serious structural interventions at governmental level, and what our interventions have been around things like the food bank. So the food bank was set up to make food available, and therefore help with the cost of living for tenants. And other things we're looking to do is we just got 150 SIM cards from a donor to give out to tenants to save some money on funds. So it's about that, and we are exploring the ability to create some welfare funds to able to offer some support to tenants, which are trying to work through at the moment. But yeah, that's again, it's our attempt to look at in the round and expand our services and do a bit more in the basic thing on housing. And then the next one, we're getting close to the end now. So these are just some of the summary outcomes in terms of the people housed, people moved on, properties built, and there you are, Ben, one trainee gains employment. Tries to capture, when you read the annual report, you see all the stories, and then it tries to sort of summarise it quite briefly here, and then that's it. I think we've just got a thank you page. So you can see we identified the groups of supporters, and there's donors that we have, and there's a section about further back about making donations and things for people who read it, public who read it and want to give us some funding. So essentially that's it. That represents, I think, about a third of the annual report. So there is 2/3 more exciting and interesting content which you may want to, in your emails later today, you'll get an invitation to go view it. So I don't know if anyone has any comments or questions about that, but thank you for listening to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Joseph. Yeah, quite impressive. I think it just shows that whilst the work is, you know, building new homes and or rather refurbishing new homes and all the great work that's done on the housing itself, but in the end, it's the impact on the people. Some of the examples you give are really, really wonderful. Yeah. And I've got to say again, the support that we've had from our shareholders, our new shareholders, really made a difference to what we can do. And I just want to thank them very much for their support. Okay, so the next item, exciting item, future plans.
Is that me again?
I'm afraid so, but it also says staff.
Yeah,
So you
well,
could maybe get a few.
I tried to, you know,
Other people
I
singing in
tried
harmony.
driving bullies, offers of promotion, but no one, you know, actually helped me with this. Well, I was just going to say a few words about the future, really. It's covered in the annual report, so in some ways I'm just doing a bit more of the annual report. But I'm going to keep this brief, really. But the things we're looking to do, we're kind of a key moment historically. We've been developing every year for as far as I can remember. Staff have been growing, teams have been growing, we're doing more and more things. So, and we haven't had a proper business planning review experience, but since prior to COVID, we just keep updating, refreshing the existing business plan. So we're planning a staff away day next month, and then a subsequent board away day, and there'll be focuses will be around reviewing operational practices, and then also on strategic issues. And the big strategic issue to discuss, as I've now started to present it, is there's the consolidationist camp, and this only exists in my head, by the way. Consolidationist camp, which is to pause development, slow development down, build existing services and strengthen them. And then there's the growth camp, which is the share issue, grow and develop more properties. And they're the kind of two scenarios we're going to try and discuss as a staff team about. The support team might say to me, well, if you get another 10 properties, James, where's this extra support capacity that we need to do it? And so they're the kind of issues we're going to work on over the coming months. And then hopefully by the end of the year, we've reached a resolution on the key focuses and what strategic direction is and what the operational implications are. Another element of what will change is around fundraising. As most of the people will know, we have in post now our fundraising manager, Ruth, who is developing a fundraising strategy. And there's sort of three elements to that, really. One is about large funding for growth, which might be share issues or loan finance, which probably me and Ruth would work on together. Then there's the kind of small and medium-sized grant funding that would be used to enhance existing services. So it's do some similar things to what we do more of it or better resource it. And then the other sort of newer angle is around donations and giving. So we're looking to try and promote more donations from individuals, regular donations, see if we can build that side around sort of campaigning, specific item focus possibly. So that would hopefully be worked through. And the intention of all of it around the fundraising is to just generate more revenue to do more and better, more staff and things like that. So that's another part. And then another element, key issue of the strategy pathology is our potential change to becoming a registered provider. So we're exploring that. We're already exploring that, and we're looking initially to try and align our practices with the standards that becoming a registered provider would require in terms of how we manage properties, finance, governance, and such things like that. So that will form a key part of the strategy discussions as well, and all the implications of that will be teased out. So yeah, exciting times. It's opportunities away, lots of work to do, and looking forward to taking it all forward with you all in the coming period. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Anyone got any questions or comments? Great.
James, with regard to being a registered provider, how close is Latch to that goal?
Only mentally, really. The decision has kind of been made, but again, there's a bit of two angles on it. The recent chaos, economic chaos, particularly around cost of living, is throwing some doubt onto the timing of doing it.
Yes.
And how that will play out. So far, we're basically reviewing the standards, looking at our existing systems, and move towards it. And it's a two-phase thing. And once you complete phase one, you trigger a kind of 6 months time period. So you don't want to go too soon, or else you'll be under pressure. So we want to get as close as we can. Yeah. And I think it's fair to say the decision hasn't properly finally been made, and these business away days things were there And again, it's like one day, well, me personally, I'm for it, the next day I'm not, depending as the world ebbs and changes. So, but we'll work it through thoroughly and implications. But yeah, long answer, sorry.
What is the registered provider?
So, where community benefits societies, you probably know. So, like Connect is a registered provider, and Unity and Leeds Fed. So it just means you're registered with the regulator.
Yeah, with the regulator social housing, so they can come out and audit you, which is unlikely to happen to actually from a small provider, but they would look in decent things like their financial accounts, that sort of thing. But for a bigger organisation, like someone like Connect, they'll go out every few years and really look at the organisation's governance and their financial viability.
So what would be the benefits?
Yeah, so there's pros and cons. The benefits will be
Doesn't sound like there's many there.
no,
there is 600 but it comes with strings attached.
yeah. So it's access to funding and grants possibly,
Right,
but
okay.
also reassurances around the rent and the rent element and how that works, and it could impact on growth by having your rents. Essentially, we're getting into it, but at the moment, our rental income Leeds City Council can only reclaim about 70% of it back from central government. If you're a registered provider, you can claim 100% back. So if I go Leeds City Council to say I want to do 50 more properties, I might think, well, and I have to pay 25% of that rent here. So that's kind of another
It's a lot cheaper than paying 100% of the rent.
yeah, right.
But the difficulty is if you're a registered provider, then the government set what your rent settlement will be.
Okay.
So at the minute, there's been a consultation. They've gone out to providers to say they're thinking of capping the rent of it because of affordability, for both for customers, but also obviously a lot of the rent is paid through universal credit and housing benefits. It's just cost saving also to the government. And that's not been decided yet. It probably won't be decided until well into November, which is not great for people.
So we're waiting for a change in government.
Yeah, that's just the thing, isn't it? These things come in and it depends. Then,
I was assuming we'd have a new prime minister by during my speech.
I
Anyway, thanks, James. It's quite an exciting time. I mean, I've been involved with Latch now for 10 years or something, and it just feels like a bit of a sort of shift. Like we've grown to a certain point, and it's quite a good time to sort of take a bit of a pause, have a serious think. Everybody, staff, board members, tenants, everyone is involved because we want to keep Latch going. But what does that future look like now? So yeah, I think it's really important that everyone gets involved in this over the next 2 months. Okay, so we move on to the accounts. David's going to present them, and then we need to vote on approving the accounts, which Sue will manage the logistics of. I understand.
And we'll spare me a minute whilst I try and share these accounts.
I should just say that in case anyone's not aware, that David Clark is our treasurer and an extremely valuable member.
You've been reading my notes.
Absolutely.
So I won't repeat that. I was thinking, I'm sure there'll be some people in the room who I haven't met before. There's obviously a lot of people who I have, but let's do so. I'm David Clark. On the management committee for a few years now, and I act as the treasurer. So what I want to do is present the accounts for the year. It's the year ending the 31st of March 2022, and I think it's worth just thinking that is now 6 months ago, and there is a little bit of the report that James has presented. Life has moved on, and it's reflected in that report. Whereas this is the 12 months ending March. I think you've also got to just put a bit of context around that. In that, as March, we were coming out of probably the worst parts of COVID pandemic. So there's a few things in there. So it is a bit of a historic view, but I think the main thing that you'll get from this is how we are set for the future, really. Yeah. So, I mean, if we just come down, the good news is the good news is we reported a surplus on the year of 124,000, which was a reversal from the previous year where it was a deficit of 15,000. And one of the reasons for that was timing of grants. And if you recall, in the previous year, there were delays on projects, particularly Harehill Avenue, but that's all flowed through. And in support of that surplus, what we've seen is the flow through of grants coming in to support activities. In fact, the grants, if you just in here, you can see so you can see how the grants have come through in terms of it's in the charitable activities and how much that's come through. So it's reflected in the difference between those two numbers there. The other good news is how much rent has increased over the period of time. So in the accounts here, the rent that we've achieved was 863,000. So as we've increased the number of properties, as Jeremy was saying, we've now got to that over 100. That rental income has come through, and it is subject to the vagaries of the council, etc., as to how that rent is set. But the good news is that is a predictable and sustainable income stream for the organisation. And when I look back, and just to give you an idea of how we've grown, 6 years ago our rental income was 435,000. So that's nearly doubled. So it's made a big difference. And when we exited the Leeds City Council contract, which again is a good few years ago, it's fair to say what we've done is taken advantage of some fairly benign economic conditions. We've had relatively low inflation and we've had low interest rates. And what we've been able to do as a result of that is develop our own stock of properties and develop that rental income stream. If we then turn to the expenditure side, you'll see overall expenditure is in these two last columns, 21 to 22. That's increased by just over 100,000. As you would expect, staff costs and property maintenance are our biggest costs. And we've increased the number of staff, so that's started to flow through. But the good news is quite a lot of that increase is supported by grants and most notably for ongoing training. So it's sustainable. If we can just go on to the next page. Keep going, sorry, not that one after that. This is a key point. This is what it's called. That's our cash flow statement for the year. The critical bit in here is we generated from our operations. We generated cash of just over £250,000, which was up on the previous year. And you can also see how we've invested that into our fixed assets.
That's the noise from that side.
Yeah. And the other critical point in this is clearly we're supported by bank loans, and based on our calculations, we've met all the tests that the bank impose each year when they look at our accounts. Basically, are we generating enough cash to meet our interest costs and repayments, and we've certainly done that in that year. What's also in here is a community share issue, and I just want to repeat what Steve and James have said, and that is, a welcome to all our new members, and really a thanks for their belief in Latch and their support of our activities. For us to generate that sort of level of cash, it's fair to say it's exceeded my expectations, and it was a fantastic result. And you know, big thanks to James in particular for all the hard work he puts in talking to the advisors and getting all the work prepared and getting the issue done. So it's yeah, quite transformational. If we then, sorry, so if we scroll back to the balance sheet, the one before. So yeah, so here we are. So the good news is our cash balances were standing at 583,000 at the end of March, and that it goes back to that point of us being prepared for the next year in terms of that investment and our ability to invest further. And we also, if you just scroll down a little bit, yeah. So the other thing we need to just comment on in here is our reserves are now standing at 4.5 million. Again, that's a combination of the surplus we generated in the year plus the 548,000 that we got from the community share issue. It's worth thinking that our assets, our fixed assets, which in the main all our properties, are now standing at just under £7 million. So our equity in those properties is broadly 4.5 million, yeah, which gives us a very sort of conservative view in terms of our external bank loans, etc. You know, we've got 4.5 million of equity in those, and it's probably slightly higher because if you we depreciate the properties, and if you look at what those properties have cost us, then that's just over £8 million. So our actual equity potentially is more than that in the properties. It just shows how we've generated surpluses, we borrowed some money, and all we've done is roll that money, you know, into the properties, you know. So it's worth, as we've got to that 100 properties, they've been well invested, you know, we've invested the money very soundly, I think. Our reserves, I say, are good. So I think that's all I'll say on the numbers. I hope that sort of gives you a good run through. One of the things I would like to say is, and we did flag this at the last AGM, we have recruited to enhance the financial management resources within Latch with the appointment of Adrian Still, and as finance, and I would like to thank Adrian for all his hard work on developing the periodic financial reports, which are now flowing through to the management committee, and also his excellent and at times frustrating work, I think, with the auditors in the production of the audited accounts. Finally, and in a way this echoes Steve's comments, I do have a bit of a word of warning, and that is, as we all know, those benign economic conditions, you know, where, you know, have largely disappeared now. We've got inflation running in excess of 10%. We've got interest rates at levels we haven't seen since the financial crash of 2008. So we need to have a look at how we operate in what is now a more volatile and unpredictable world than when we set off on this journey 7 years ago. So, and if anyone's got any questions, delighted to take them.
It's a really excellent presentation. Thank you. Has anyone got any questions?
I know it's accountancy speak, but why do you depreciate the value of property? When hitherto property's done the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one we've had debates with the auditors on, actually. And it's because what we tend to do is just acquire a property, and as you know, what we do is we then invest heavily in that property in terms of the refurbishments. Yeah. Yes. So if you look at that property, and if you broke it down into its component parts, you've got the land and the building, and then you've got things like a new kitchen, a new bathroom, heating, etc. So there are bits within the property which have got a different life cycle to the actual bricks and mortar of the land. Okay. And one of the thoughts, and we've had discussions with the auditors on this, is whether we should be breaking that down to, so we're actually reflecting the life cycle of some of the components of the properties. And that's something that we need to look at. Different organisations take different approaches on that. Yeah. But but we are consistent with other similar, similar sized organisations when we're going to get the check and look at the costs.
Okay, has anyone else got any questions? Right. Now let me get this right. We need to approve the accounts. We have a proposal and a second first, and then a vote. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So could we have a proposer for the accounts, please? That's obviously to approve them. Thanks, Keith. And a seconder. Shy.
Max there, put it on.
Right. Thank you very much. And then over to Sue to organise. Yeah. So we have to vote as members to approve the accounts.
That's correct. And because we have two different types of members, both in the room and online, we have core members and we have supporter members. So we are going to hold a different vote each time on each of the votes that we take today. We're going to hold the first vote for core members and the second vote for supporter members. The same question, it's just for different groups. The reason for this is it makes it easier for James and I to add it up at the end. That's really what this is about. Okay.
Of course, if it goes unanimous, then.
But, yeah, you're fine. Okay, so I'm going to launch the poll here for the online people. You just bear with me one moment, you'll see that come up. Right, so this poll online, for those of you who are online, this is for core members. So that is for staff, management committee, and tenants. So the same poll in the room, please, which is first vote, do you approve the Latch annual accounts? All in favour?
Show of hands.
Unanimous.
Yeah, it is. Basically.
And
I can see
unanimous
somebody with that
online
hand.
as well.
He's not a member, Steve, sorry, yeah.
Right.
He's a guest, honoured guest.
An honoured guest. That's
I've
fine.
only had one rebel in the ranks. So we'll wait. Sorry, Steve.
And the online.
My poll.
Okay.
Okay.
So the next poll then is for excuse me. So then the next poll, to move on, is for go away. Sorry about this. It just won't go away. Next poll. There we are. Okay. Apologies for that. A technical issue. So the next poll, both in the room and also online, is for any supporting members. Do you approve the Latch annual account? All in favour?
No, only one person can vote on this one. Nick? It is, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it is, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily Sue's not doing it for you.
I'm not even sure we have it. Yes, we've got one. So unanimously, 1 out of 1 online and 1 out of 1 in the room.
Yeah, so the minute it Ash is unanimous for approval by both types of members.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which also involves a vote, I think. Just to explain, this is a resolution to appoint the auditor. We're not actually seeking your support for the appointment of an auditor, but to a resolution to put out for tender. So we're not asking you to support the appointment of a specific auditor. We need to go back out to tender again. It's a long time since we've been out to tender for an auditor. And we think in terms of good practice, we'd like to go out to audit again, or to tender again, sorry, rather than just simply roll on and appoint the same auditor again. So the proposal is due really because, first of all, it's quite a while since we went to tender, and we want to see what the market's like out there. There's been quite a lot of development, things happening in the sort of in our line of business and in terms of the sort of companies that support people like ourselves. So we want to go out there and see if we can find the best auditor for the charity. So I will ask again for a proposer and a seconder for the decision to go out to tender. David propose and
It's two David.
two Davids. There always are lots of Davids. Anyway, so we've got proposer and seconder, and we need to vote again.
So this is, the vote is on the non-reappointment of auditors. And the first vote, please, is for core members. So those in favour of the non-reappointment of auditors, please.
Can we all vote?
Yeah, looks unanimous to me.
Yeah.
And we're just taking the online votes.
Could do with some sort of music playing, you know, like when you're on the call. Like,
Oh, come on, I've got enough tech going.
Man's expecting DJ at the same time.
Okay, so from core members, we've got a unanimous approval. Agreement. Okay, and so again, this is the same question, but this is now for supporting members. So for those in the room and also online, supporting members in favour of the non-reappointment of auditors, vote now. And just taking the vote online as well. And also approved online.
excellent.
Okay,
Yeah, good at it. Huh?
I'm getting better as it goes.
Okay, so we can move on. The next item is resignations and nominations to the management committee. So the first item under this item is for me to advise you that we are seeking to confirm the appointment of David Campbell, who's last David, to the board. He joined us in February and has been acting as a co-op team member. We'd like to thank him because, again, as with many of the board members, there are specific areas of skill and expertise that they bring voluntarily to the management of the charity. And David's background, which I'm sure he'll explain, he's going to say a few words on it. It makes him a very welcome new member. So, David, just a few words.
Okay, well, as Steve was saying, my journey with Latch started in February. It was a colleague of mine at work who suggested to have a look, and I was so impressed when I saw the work that he did. I thought, well, it's something I really want to get involved in. So I had a little interview with James and Stephen last February, and they invited me to join the board. And since then, I've been hopefully able to add a little bit of value with the restructure that's been done. So just to give you a bit of idea about my background, I'm a chartered building surveyor by profession. I've just celebrated my 40th year of working in this industry, so I have a fair bit of experience. I've done quite a bit of residential refurbishment work, so it's something that is a particular interest of mine, and I really think that hopefully I can add a bit of value by doing something voluntarily to help people not as fortunate as myself.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. So we just like to approve David's accession to the board as a full member.
Okay, so once again, the vote is first of all for core members. So core members, both in the room and online. The question is, do you agree to the appointment of David Campbell to the management committee? Please vote now.
Well done, David.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David.
And once again, the same question, but this time to supporting members, both in the room and online. Do you agree to the appointment of David Campbell to the management committee? Please vote now. Some confusion with the online votes, I think, but we can say that's carried.
Well, thank you very much, David, for your involvement, and we look forward to working with you in the year ahead. That'd be brilliant. Okay, I'd just like to hand over to Dave, to James, for all these tables, just to say a few words about Carol.
Yeah, so obviously we've done a nomination to the board, but sadly I have to report the standing down resignation from the board of Carol White, who's here today. So Carol was, well, me and Carol went out for lunch, didn't we, a week or so ago, had a really nice lunch. No wine though, which was a big disappointment. But, we had to go back to work. So we had a lovely chat about the history of Latch and the future of Latch, and reminisced when Carol joined us way back in, when was it? Was it 10?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah, a long time ago.
I had a magnificent head of hair,
Definitely
you
this
know,
millennium at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So Carol was at Leeds Fed when you joined us, and has helped around every aspect of Latch really over the years, but particularly around the support side and supported housing and the elements of relationships with registered providers. And she's made significant contributions. I remember one time Carol reviewed paperwork of the support contract and discovered we'd been underpaid by about £25,000 or something, which was no small amount of money at that time. But Carol's been at the meetings, she's supported outside the meetings and been a real benefit to Latch, and you're going to be very badly missed. But as we said, we'll try and keep in touch, and hopefully it's been enjoyable for you because you've been a real bonus to Latch and seen such big changes from Latch in the time you've been here. So, and you've been a big part of that. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed being part of Latch, you know, and it has changed like that a long time I've been here. But I think Latch has always, let's say, true to its core purpose and its roots. You see that's still the case now from comments people have put, you know, the tenants have put in the annual report that's still got that strong ethos, you know, and I'm sure that'll continue.
Do you want to say a word?
There's not much I can really add to James's comments about Carol's value to the board. But I know from the board members' point of view, certainly speaking personally, one of the great things about being involved in Latch is how much you learn, things that you didn't know about, things that weren't part of my professional background. And Carol's brought real quality advice and leadership really in issues to the board. And I think on behalf of the rest of the board, we'd really like to say thank you so much. And we do hope you will keep in touch.
And tradition demands before gifts that we do exuberant clapping.
Right. Well, slightly bittersweet, but there you go. Is there any other business? Has anyone got any other items they want to raise?
Take a picture of everybody. If you don't want to be in it, let me know and I'll
We're on social media.
blur you out. Or
Social
something.
media.
Social media.
Social media. Well, I think social media.
Just instinct. Somebody,
Get your best side, Jim.
exhausted really.
Actually, should we well, let's wind up because it's getting very naughty. Thanks ever so much to everybody for coming along today. Everyone plays their part. It's a great organisation. Let's keep it that way for the coming year ahead. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Just someone just takes lunch.
Yes, lunch should be out there if you like to help yourself. As I said, we're packing here so we don't impact too much on the